Welcome, everybody, to the Get Healthy webinar. We host these at least once a month with our favorite partners and brands right here at Get Healthy Store. I'm Dr. Tracey Stroup. I'm the Chief Health and Growth Officer at Get Healthy, and I'm so honored to have with me today Uli Iserloh. He is just amazing in the marketing space, big boost marketing. I have followed him for a long time. I'm more excited, I think, about this webinar than anybody today. But before we get into anything, I do want to just let everybody know that this is being recorded. You will receive a playback. So if you have to leave or you miss, that's totally fine. We'll get this to you. I also remind everyone that we have our upcoming peptide course. It is called the Great Peptide Revolution. That is on July 8th, and signups are still available for that. So the link is right there in the chat. We are welcoming your questions today. Make sure you have them because I know I'm going to have a list for you at the end of this, Uli. But just to give a short introduction, as one of the leading digital marketing strategists, Dr. Uli helps health practitioners turn prospects into patients using automations, ads, AI. Uli's on a mission to help equip health and wellness professionals with the right strategy, the right systems, and the support for sustainability and profitability to help grow your practices. So, Uli, I'm super excited to have you today. We're going to be talking about AI search and ChatGPT optimization. I mean, it's probably the biggest thing that's out there with practitioners. So, I'm going to step back and let you take over. Thank you for being here and tune in, everybody. Get ready.
Well, thanks for the kind introduction, and I'm super excited about the opportunity to present what's going on. Clearly, as health and wellness practitioners, you know that AI in some ways has hurt us. In other ways, it has helped us. And on the one side, with the availability of AI, people are creating more content than ever, not just health and wellness influencers. So there's so much content out there that our audience is getting overwhelmed and likely consuming less of the content. On the other side, it has helped us because it has established totally new channels. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about AI search and ChatGPT optimization, and the fastest growing source of new patients in 2026. So I'll share here some slides. And as Tracy said, make sure you put your questions in the comments so we can make this very interactive, that we get your questions answered. And at the beginning, just want to set up the agenda. So we'll talk about why AI search is your biggest near-term growth lever and the simple moves to start showing up when a patient asks tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity for help. We're also talking about what goes into becoming the featured answer at a very high level. So you have the concept of the four areas that we need to focus on to actually get cited in AI. And then finally, I want to end with how to take advantage of this blue ocean opportunity right now that will give you disproportionate leverage for years to come. And I liken this really to the transition back in 2001, when there was yellow pages and then Google search arrived and consumer behavior shifted. Those people that embraced Google search very early on reaped outside benefits for years to come. And we're at the same inflection point right now where it goes from Google search into AI search. And those of you that are optimizing your platform, your digital presence for AI can really tap into a totally new stream of largely better educated patients than those coming from Google. And so just a couple stats here to orient everyone. Consumer behavior has changed. So patients don't Google and click like they used to. What happens is that many Google searches now end on AI overview and answer boxes, and people don't even click any of the 10 blue links underneath the search. And so even if you were ranking on page one of Google, if people don't click the link, you're still not getting the traffic. And so you see a lot of our clients have seen a declining Google traffic over the last year, some clients as much as 80% over the last year. At the same time, AI search is rising to the tune of 340% plus, and this is data from 2025. So it's only increasing. The next thing, as I mentioned, a lot of the searches end up in these AI overview boxes. So people just read what Gemini or Google, put together, and then they maybe stick with that answer and never move any further. On the positive side, traffic from LLM, so the Google, the Perplexities, the Claude, ChatGPTs converts at nearly 9 times higher rates. So if you were traditionally found on Google, people click on one of the link. Typically, 1.76% of that traffic converts into something useful. Let's say a discovery call, a phone call, etc. Now, if you compare this to ChatGPT, we see that when people come from ChatGPT to your website, they convert 9 times better. 15.9% of the traffic converts. And why is this? Well, people have spent half an hour on ChatGPT asking all kinds of questions, and eventually they came to the question of where can I find a practitioner near me that does hormone therapy, or where can I find BHRT near me, or whatever else they're searching. And at that moment, that searcher is supremely well qualified because they've essentially asked all kinds of other questions using other people's content inside ChatGPT. It didn't matter that it wasn't your content. What mattered is that when they finally asked the question, BHRT in Charlotte, North Carolina, or cognitive decline specialist in Sarasota, Florida, is your practice showing up? And so we have lots of clients where we optimized their website 5, 6 years ago. And if you do SEO and optimization right, that also translates to visibility in AI search. So here again, this was a quote from last year. 2 out of 7 calls last week found us through ChatGPT. So you should probably ask the question to your front desk, how many of our new patients actually found us on AI? And the last stat that I want to maybe mention here is you might think that people use AI just for efficiency gain, for work. And here's data from Claude. And this data is from earlier this year. And they compared essentially how the percentage of what people use AI for. And it turned out that back in 2024, over half of ChatGPT's usage is focused on practical guidance and seeking information. It's not about productivity. It's not about writing blog posts or doing, it's about doing research. And so this was essentially 2024. Well, June 2025, it was 73%. And I don't have the data for now, June 2026. But if you were asking me, I would argue it's probably 90% of ChatGPT uses by consumer is for exact this kind of practical guidance, seeking information, asking questions. And what's happening now is that essentially Apple made a deal with Google saying Siri is powered by Gemini. So when people get their new iPhone and they now use Siri, guess what? You using AI technology, Gemini, owned by Google. So if you want to show up to this new generation of consumers asking question in Siri, asking question to their smartphone, you want to be in the databases that surface you at the answer. And again, it's not about optimizing for keywords like in the old days with Google. Now it's about becoming the featured answer. And so there's a shift from trying to optimize your website and a digital platform to the whatever ChatGPT wants. And if we're making this super simple, ChatGPT and these AI tools are incredibly lazy. They essentially figure out, here's the consumer asking a question, and then it asks, is there any website, web page out there that answers exactly this question? And if yes, let's just take the content from that web page and serve it up in ChatGPT. That's it. It's very basic. And so what you need to do is 2 things. Number one, you first need to get your questions created and get it into the database for ChatGPT and Perplexity and Gemini. Because if you're not in a database, how can Gemini actually go into that database and serve you up as an answer, right? So step one is you need to get into the database. And then step two is when the consumer is asking the question, out of all the available answer in the database, why would ChatGPT pick you and not somebody else? And one simple measure is if ChatGPT has data from 2018 and 2026, guess what? It will pick the answer from 2026. So all things being equal, you want to make sure that you constantly put more content into the database for ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc., so that you're always the most recent answer. And that is how AI tools understand if you're actually in practice, if what you have on your website is useful. So I don't know if there's any questions coming in. I can certainly continue on here and get sort of into the more practical aspects. Maybe I share here one testimonial from one of our clients that speaks to the change in what's been going on.
It's amazing. It's absolutely. I'm hiring another staff person this week because two things. I think it's a combination of repackaging everything to be AI search friendly and making all those reels. It's just like it is so overwhelmed my market that people don't have a choice but call. We have people actually walking in off the street now looking, I read about you and I wanted to come see what you guys do. It's amazing. I think the most important thing for these people, older people, is to feel like they've at least made a connection on the
Yeah,
phone call.
exactly.
It's not necessarily they get their question answered, but at least they feel like they're in the process of being heard. But yeah, things are going good.
So this was just one client in Sarasota, and he does cognitive decline. And guess what? He's ranking even before Dale Bredesen's clinic in Sarasota. So, you don't have to be a big shot influencer. If you just do the basics right, then you can outrank even experts in the field. So, just to recap this first part, it's mission critical to getting AI to recommend you. AI search is essentially intent of the audience, it's trust, it's pre-education. So ultimately, the people that click through from AI search, there are far fewer tire kickers and they're more ready for care patients. And you can earn recommendations without buying paid ads, without having to be on social media all day long. So ultimately, optimizing your website and your practice for AI is good for patients, good for SEO, good for AEO, good for your practice. And right now, as I said, this is the low-hanging fruits. This is the easiest way to get more patients into your clinic without lots of work, without lots of money and ads. And so what I want to do here in the next slides is really walk you through the four area that matter in order to get your website to rank. And, think of AI optimization as clear patient education presented in a structured way that benefits both your website visitors as well as gets you ranking in SEO and AI tools. And so one of the gifts that I will give to everyone on this call is we do a free website assessment where we look at what's going on your website. If you go to go.bigboost.marketing/assessment or scan the QR code, you can redeem it. All you have to do is provide your name, an email, and your website address, and then our team will analyze your website along a number of factors, and we generate a 20-page report that we send to you. So you know where you stand, you know what you need to fix, and again, you can pass that report to your webmaster and saying, hey, just implement these things to get us ranking in ChatGPT. Now, AI search tools are in the business of matching consumer questions with trusted answer, as I already explained. And it determines trustworthiness by evaluating your website, Google Business Profile, third-party websites, directories, and your social media posts. So what we need to do in order to become the trusted answer is focus on these four areas: your website, Google Business Profile, directory listings, and social media posts. And that dovetails with what you would normally do for SEO. AEO is maybe 30% different, that there's a little different weighing, a couple different technologies. But by and large, what's good for SEO is also good for AEO. And so the first part is really starting with your website. And I will keep this really high level, but at a very high level, what Google and the AI crawlers do is they come to your website, they analyze what your website does, and it looks at the structure. So if you have a clearly structured website that's very organized, you make it a lot easier for these crawlers to understand what you do. So for instance, if you were a hormone clinic, we see in the top right corner a cluster of pages and around conditions or focus areas. So you can see here perimenopause, menopause, andropause, adrenal dysfunction, thyroid imbalances, Hashimoto's, PCOS, PMS. What do all these pages have in common? They're all related to hormones, right? So if your website is organized like this, Google would conclude, this looks like a hormone clinic. Now, if you're moving to the top left part, you see services. So a cluster of pages describing your services. What is BHRT? BHRT for women, BHRT for men, hormone testing, medical weight loss. Again, Google would think, well, this looks like services that a hormone clinic would offer, right? So you were very congruent with what Google and AI captures from your website. If we're moving into the bottom left quadrant, the FAQ clusters, are there FAQ pages on the websites that are related to hormones? Is BHRT safe? BHRT versus HRT? How long until I see results with BHRT? And so the first step when it comes to your website, and again, that goes into our analysis, is for us to look at how is your homepage and your cluster pages structured. We have here the About cluster. So this is about your team, your bios, etc. Then we have all the focus areas, functional medicine, functional wellness, hormone imbalances. Here's all the hormone pages. Maybe you do cardiometabolic health, and we have all the cardiometabolic pages. And then we have the cluster of service pages. So again, doing this exercise is not just good for Google SEO, it just makes it easier for your website visitors that come to your website to find what you're all about, right? I can't tell you how many clients we have that come to us, start working with us, and I analyze their website, and it's like, I can't find anything on your website. And so good organization goes a long way for usability and for getting indexed in AI. And speaking of FAQs, this is probably one of the biggest opportunities to very quickly get ranking in SEO for the reason I mentioned that ChatGPT is incredibly lazy. They just look at websites that answer certain questions. So for instance, here we have a question, how long does it take for BHRT to work? This is a question that consumers verbatim ask in ChatGPT, in Claude, in YouTube, in Facebook, Instagram, etc. So we know there's existing demand for this question. So why don't we just answer the question, right? So for somebody that asks, how long does it take for BHRT to work? We need to give a very quick answer because ChatGPT doesn't want you to spend half a page explaining about your practice. They want you to just answer the question. This is what it essentially uses to display in ChatGPT. But then beyond that initial answer, we then have to expand it. You know, the people that ask how fast does BHRT work? We have to tell them BHRT isn't a one and done solution. That speaks directly to the time that's required to optimize this, right? We need to give them a realistic timeline in your clinic. We also need to answer, this is not what they asked, but what influences how fast you feel better, right? It's directly related to how fast does it work? Well, it depends. Depends on the route and the dose, your symptom burden duration, your genetics, your adherence, right? So there's a number of factors. And Facebook and Google really loves when you are fair and balanced, right? It's not like you're trying to convince people. You want to give relevant information that's legit. Again, you then have the opportunity to say, here's how we would monitor and optimize your plan. So we're now moving a little bit more into sales language. We need to disclose what if you don't feel better. Maybe we need to answer, is BHRT safe? They didn't ask this, but it's related. And then we end with, how do we get you to results and next steps? Okay, browse a couple more pages or book a discovery call, and then we have sources and citation. And so you can see that this FAQ post is essentially a sales page in disguise. It starts with a question that by its nature is frequently asked, so we know there's already demand. And this is exactly why frequently asked questions are one of the easiest and most powerful ways to get your practice cited in AI, because of this exact match between what people search and what ChatGPT then features. So that's essentially how you have to think about your website. Do I have all these pages in place? Do I have them organized in a well enough manner? And then do I have each page structured in a certain way, the way that AI engines want it? Now, if you're wondering where can I get find out what people are asking, there's a tool out there called answerthepublic.com. You go in there and then you can just type in a keyword like BHRT therapy or maybe biofeedback, and then you just search it, and it will then tell you here is all the questions that people ask, so that you're not just guessing what people are asking. You actually know what hundreds of thousands of people have asked, and that gives you then assurance that whatever content you create for an FAQ is actually relevant for AI. So now that we've covered the website in a snapshot, the next area that we need to focus on is the Google Business Profile. And the easiest way to explain how to get there is you go to Google, type in Google Business Profile, and then you see typically the first listing, Google Business Profile. You just sign in with your existing Gmail, and then you get to a page like this that either allows you to add your business if you haven't claimed your business profile yet, or you set it up from scratch. And so here is an example of an existing practice, how it's set up. What you would do is go through these boxes here, starting with edit profile, and then just fill in the information. So do you have the right name for your practice? That name should match what's on your website. Is it the right business category? In this case, holistic medicine practitioner, medical clinic, etc. So pick 3 categories that make sense. Then use ChatGPT to write a description about your practice. So here you have 750 characters. So you might go to ChatGPT, says, hey, write a description for Google Business Profile for my clinic, up to 750 characters, include the following keywords and services, and optimize it for the following location. We're based in, let's say, Lakewood, Colorado. So you just fill out that part here. Description, opening date, contact phone numbers, your website address, social profiles, and then you pick service areas. Again, you can go into Google saying, my practice is located in Lakewood, Colorado. Give me the local service areas for hormone clinic, and it will suggest 15 names, and you just add it here, and you're all set. You enter your business hours. You follow sort of all the other information, including accessibility, amenities, etc. So it's very straightforward to fill out this part to get your business profile set up. And this ensures that Google and the AI engines relying on the Google Business Profile have adequate information about your clinic, and it knows that what's on the Google Business Profile matches what's on the website. The only other 2 boxes that I would argue you need to optimize is products and services. So if you go to your website, and let's go back to this website, and you look at the service areas, okay, we have hormone optimization, hormone testing, BHRT, medical weight loss. What you should be doing in Google Business is you should create services around that, right? Functional medicine, craniosacral therapy, manual therapy. And once you go in there, you should then optimize the service description. Again, here you have 300 characters. So it's just paint by numbers, fill in the information, and that ensures that Google and other AI search tools knows more about your clinic. So that brings me then sort of to the second piece. Part 1 was your website. Part 2 was your Google Business Profile. The third area that we need to focus on is directory listings. And this is in old parlance of SEO, backlinks. So we want to make sure that your website is included in relevant directories. So there's the 411s, the Yelps, the Yahoos, etc. That's the first level. Then the second and third level are medical directories. So if you are a practitioner and you have an NPI number, did you know that Health Grades and Rate MDs and Vitals, they automatically create profiles for you? So a lot of times the information in these medical directories is not up to date. Maybe you were an anesthesiologist and now you do functional medicine. Well, consumers don't know this. They go to these directories and it says you're an anesthesiologist, and you wonder, why the heck is nobody clicking through to my website? Well, the information in these medical directories is not up to date. So what you need to do is just go to Health Grades, find your profile, claim it if you haven't claimed it, and then just update it with the same information that you put into Google description and Google Business Profile description, so that all these websites have the same information, the same name, address, phone number, same description, so that again, AI engines knows all the information available online is identical. It's the same name, address, phone number on the website, on Google Business Profile, in these medical directories. And then think about any other specialty directories. If you're a member of IFM, you should be in the IFM directory. If you're in ILADS, you want to be listed there. If you are in different academies or programs, if they offer a directory, you want to be listed there, because every backlink from that to your website is a vote of confidence that you're legit and that the information is congruent. And so then the final area that we need to talk about is strategic social media. And so many people, especially new practitioners, they ask, well, what should I be doing on social media? And the default is nobody has a good answer. Well, in my book, strategic social media means that whatever I post on social media is actually shaping the perception of the people that see it. It increases trust. It gets them to know, like, and trust me. And ultimately, it gets them from social media to click through to my website to engage. So at the very minimum, I want people to raise their hand and comment on my posts and say, I'm interested, so that we can have a two-way conversation. Now, the easiest way to create social media content is, guess what? You take your frequently asked questions that you put on your website, and now you're saying, well, let me create a teaser post for that, and maybe 200 words, talk about it, put it on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google Business Profile, and then saying, if you want to read the full FAQ, go to the link on my website, and you link them to your website. Now, the advanced move could be, hey, just take your smartphone and put it in a reel mode and videotape yourself for 2 minutes. And now you just talk about the frequently asked question. You start the video with, hey, so many people ask, how long does it take to get results with BHRT? And here's my answer. And then you essentially regurgitate what you just wrote in that FAQ post. You trim the beginning and the end of that video, and then you post that video to YouTube Shorts, to TikTok, to Facebook and Instagram, and that becomes your social media content. So, to give you sort of like a map what this could look like in practice is, again, not all search engines are essentially listing content. So for instance, Facebook, Instagram content doesn't make it into Google, etc. But YouTube Shorts, TikTok Reels, Google Business Profile are all readable by these crawlers. So make sure that you have content every week on those platforms. And then, as I said, you have that FAQ blog post. You can now take it and put it into your weekly newsletter saying, hey, so many people have asked this question. So I wrote an FAQ post and click through and get people to click through from your email list to your FAQ post to read it. Again, on your email list, you have people that are patients and you have people that are prospective patients. So it serves both of them, that you get them back to your website. Now they're reading one FAQ post, maybe they read a second, third, fourth, and before you know it, they book a discovery call. So it helps with that. Activate your existing audience in your email list. But then, as I said, create a small snippet and create a social media post. Put a picture with the heading in there, does BHRT help with memory, brain fog, and focus? Talk about it a little bit and then link to your website. And now you have people coming from social media to your website. And then the advanced move is obviously shoot a video talking about the FAQ post and then make a YouTube FAQ playlist, post the video reels on YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. And so now one FAQ blog post turned into one email, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 social media posts, maybe 4 or 5 video reels. So one FAQ turns suddenly into 9, 10 things. It's the content for the entire week. And that is essentially my answer for what should I be posting on social media. If you don't know what you should post FAQs. You already know there's demand for it. And number 2, this is the vehicle to make it easy for you to create content that's easy to create. So to recap, the 4 core ingredients to rank your practice in ChatGPT are optimizing your website, optimizing your Google Business Profile, optimizing directory listings, and strategic social media. And, if you do this, then it usually takes maybe 2-3 months to get ranking for specific keywords. And again, that is how you future-proof your practice. We've done this with dozens and dozens of clinics. And ultimately, if you don't know it firsthand, ChatGPT and these tools definitely drive inquiries, drive discovery calls. And so this is the way to future-proof your practice without relying on more ad money or, constantly posting on social media. So just to summarize, I want to give you a couple action steps, and then we can go into questions. First, again, claim your website assessment. This is essentially your Dutch report for the health of your practice website. We look at Google Business Profile, we look at your social media, we look at your website, give you that 20-page report. We meet with you, we go over the report to explain what it means, and then you have your team implement it. For those of you that want done for you options or done with you options, there's additional options that we can supply. This may be beyond what we do on this call, but start with the assessment. And with that, open to entertaining some questions here.
Okay, amazing. There are some questions. I have some questions, but we'll start with everybody's questions first. So what if you are a virtual practice? What business address should you put down for your Google business profile?
Excellent questions. And the way what I would do is, a lot of people that have a virtual practice, they don't want to list their home address. So we have to first create a business address. So my favorite way is go to UPS store, get a mailbox, and then use the address of that UPS store and essentially whatever here's the street address, and then whatever suite hashtag 303, and 303 is your mailbox number. And so that is how you can use a UPS store. What you have to do is obviously you have to get a mailbox, so there's a certain cost for this. Another option would be you have a local provider friend that runs a clinic and it says, hey, can I put a mailbox next to yours, and you just collect the mail for you. So use another practitioner a practice address, a physical address, and then all the mail goes there. The reality is there's probably never any mail going to there, but that way you don't have to pay the UPS store for an address. And then you take that address, you go into your Google Business Profile, and that creates the pin. Again, if people look at the street view, they will probably see that it says UPS store. But that is an easy workaround to get a business address for the website footer to show people that where you're located in a certain state. And then you just say, I do telehealth in the state of Florida. You have a Florida address, and then it makes sense.
Nice. All right. So you
Now,
had
I'll give one more caveat. If you try this with the U.S. Postal Service, it doesn't work this way. So a U.S. Postal Service, you have to put P.O. box in there. You can say suite 303. It will never get delivered. I tried this because the U.S. Postal Service mailbox is a lot cheaper than the UPS mailbox, but it works this way.
Awesome. I'll just have some conversation with you. I mean, as a practitioner myself, and what I've noticed working with a lot of practitioners, to help them market or even product market, I feel like sometimes they have the wrong marketing people on their team. What type of person, if someone wanted to embrace your program, what type of person does the practitioner need on their team to be able to take what you're strategizing and implement it for them?
Yeah, there's, I think, the strategy piece, and then there's the implementation piece, right? So the two caveats that I always see, people have a million ideas, but they never implement it. So if that describes your practice, you're the brilliant practitioner with a million ideas, but you don't have time to implement your ideas. You need an integrator in your practice. So this could be your office manager, this could be a health coach or somebody else whose job it is to do some marketing. But in reality, it might be an outside person that is just technically qualified to do social media posting, that does website stuff, etc. And so this would be an ongoing role, but that person wouldn't need to be the strategist. So if you
Right.
needed a strategist, you could hire somebody like me saying, we're just mapping out the strategy for whatever it is, niching your practice, developing your product lineup, building the patient education, building website content, what have you. And then once you have the strategy, then you would have person implement it. Again, at Big Boost Marketing, we provide both strategy and implementation. So we have everything in one package. But that would be my advice, to look for either an integrator or helper, and then a strategist. And the strategist should be somebody like you, right? That has run businesses in that vertical, that knows the industry. I oftentimes see these marketers or advertising people say, "Oh yeah, we can run ads for functional medicine," and then my eyebrow goes up, saying, "Really?" It's like they think this is just like consumer product goods, and you just run ads and it works, right? People click through it and then book a discovery call. They don't know it takes 40 touch points and more. You have to
Mm.
educate them. People don't even know what functional medicine is. So it's an altogether different game. And so, as a strategist, I feel you really have to make sure that that person has been in our industry, has worked with practitioners like you, has gotten results for practitioners like you, so that you're not get taking advantage on somebody that does for the first time integrative or functional or naturopathic medicine and doesn't even know what they're in for.
Yeah. I think some of the big gaps that fall, when we hear all these ideas is time, right? So
Hmm.
immediately my head goes to, when am I going to have time to update my Google business? When am I going to have time to create this content? When am I going to have time to actually write something about an FAQ? And I think one of the things that I heard from another business person was you have to work on your business as much as you work in your business. Schedule a time where you can sit down and be creative. And I just looked at my calendar this week, and I'm sure there's other practitioners on here feeling the same thing. Like, there is no time.
Yeah.
Like, if you allow it, people will occupy 100% of your time. And people get mad when you say no. When you say, like, hey, I blocked that, and that's been blocked, and somebody tries to jump in there. So if you're hearing all of this today and you're feeling overwhelmed, make an hour a week where you can get creative, think about your strategy, work with your marketing person. I feel like who I have in my business, personal, is more of a strategist with a sidekick of implementation. But I think what most of us are missing is the implementer, is that person that's just going to be, hey, I'm going to go in and do this, build this, put the content in. So I think you really have to realize like where your limitations are as a company, a practitioner, et cetera. Yeah, so that's what we are missing.
Eh,
Yeah, we're missing the implementers. So if anyone's an implementer out there, it's a perfect
Yeah.
opportunity. You got a line of practitioners who want you.
And again,
Um,
to the point of AI, people thought, oh, AI is gonna make all of this obsolete. I can tell you, I'm busier than ever because people
right,
still don't have time to learn the AI, and there's all these tools. So, if you're thinking about AI, the one piece of advice I can give you is like, don't try to learn everything. Figure out what's the problem that I need to solve. I need to write an FAQ post, and then figure out what's the easiest way to use AI to do it. And then decide, do I delegate this to AI and use this? Do I delegate it to a team member? Do I delegate it to an outside provider that does it? So we've created, for instance, FAQ answer set where people are saying, hey, I'm a BHRT clinic. Can't you write my BHRT FAQs? I'm like, here you go. 50
yeah,
FAQ posts already written, perfectly optimized. We pop your practice name in there. We cross-link it to existing pages. And without you lifting a finger, all you have to do is like, what is the titles that you want to feature? Make a selection, and then we put it on your website and it's taken care of. So ultimately, you have to realize that the value of your time,
right,
is incredible. And you shouldn't really, if you do this yourself, it's probably the most expensive way of doing it.
yeah,
Similar, like you tell your patients, if you try to heal your IBS, this will take freaking forever. It will be
right,
complicated and you likely don't do it right. So please hire an expert in IBS. I say the same about FAQ posts and AI and all the marketing thing. Yes, you can do it. You're incredibly smart, but it doesn't mean you should be doing it, because ultimately you delegating it and getting it done and getting the results is far more valuable than trying to do it yourself and save $100 here and there.
right. Hire your weakness. I mean, I always tell people they walk in with bags of supplements and it's a DIY bag of supplements. They've tried to fix their problem for years and they've not wasted, but they've spent a lot of money not getting the results that they want. And I think it's quicker to look and do a self-assessment of your company, your marketing team, and realize like, hey, we've scaled to a point where my marketing person's more of a strategist and she needs an implementer, right? So that's where everybody has to get, and then investing back in your company the time and the money to get to that next level of scale. So if you do those things in your corporation, it's well worth it for people to connect with you, get an assessment, make sure that they can apply, look at your pricing. And guys, just realize you only have to build these things once. And once you build them and they're connected, they just live on forever. And it's just reoccurring revenue. And it also takes the burden of answering the same question 1,000 times. So,
Exactly.
I mean, think of the freedom you'll have.
Yeah.
Another question, it's in the Q&A. I had a lot of reviews deleted by Google. My web developer contacted Google support and it got reinstated again, but after a week, it had all been removed again. These are client reviews.
Yeah, Google, you gotta love AI algorithm, right? They just machine and Google just does what it does. And so what Google looks at is are all the reviews coming from the same IP address? So for instance, if you have a clinic and you have people, at the front desk, you have a QR code and saying, hey, scan this QR code and leave us a review. Well, what happens is Google Reviews says, oh, all of these came from the same location. This is probably malfeasance and this doesn't look organic. So you're
Huh.
kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you provide people with a tablet and people are on your network. I mean, if people log into your IP address, then it's like, oh, Google sees all of these review came from the same address. It's probably somebody just making stuff up. And then it auto deletes it and you complain, it's back and forth. So the much smarter way is 2 hours after they were in a clinic, you sent them a text message. Hey, how was your experience today? If it was good, would you mind leaving us a Google review? And then in the text message, you put the link to your Google review. Now they're at home, they're somewhere out and about, and it's a different IP address. They're connecting to AT&T and Verizon. At that point, it looks like, oh, all kinds of different IP addresses giving reviews for the clinic. These must be legit. And, we're going to leave them in there. So these are two ways to ensure that as you generate new reviews, it's more likely that they stick. I don't have a piece of advice of if Google auto deletes it because they say it's not a real review. You can appeal it and you can keep playing that game, but ultimately it's much more favorable to just collect reviews from different places. Now, on the topic of reviews, one other hack that happens, obviously, we like reviews that talk about the before, what broke the camel's back, and the after. So it's a real transformational story. But if you tell most patients, hey, can you write me a review? They just say, had a great time. Dr. So-and-so was super friendly, super helpful, love them. That's such a saccharine, sweet, useless review. I mean, better than none, but ideally, go to ChatGPT, give them an example review, and then saying, hey, I did the work for you. Does it sound like you? Would you mind posting it? And that way, you get actually better reviews that are more meaningful, that teach prospective patients what you should be doing, and that just gets way better results.
Awesome. Well, I didn't know that. So now I understand why I get those 2 hour later text messages. It's tell us how we did.
Yep.
So this has been excellent. Thank you. I think we've covered all the questions. So, oh wait, somebody popped in a question. 1 second. No, I think we've answered them all. Sorry, it looked like it popped up there. I don't see any new questions. Well, guys, we have put the links into the chat so you guys can click on those. Get your free assessment, at least on your website. You have some action items that I feel could be pretty easy to go in and have somebody on your staff fill out your Google business, look at the directory, see if you're listed on Yelp and a couple of other things. And then I really liked your strategy with social media, Uli, the FAQ, turning those into videos on YouTube and then shorts and then TikTok. Like, I think we make it more difficult and I've seen this girl I mean, she's got the crazy hair, this doctor. And it was like the first thing that caught my attention. I was like, wow, like, who is this? So it was a grab just by, just her appearance. And she was, and she kind of blew up really
Yeah.
quickly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know who she is. Long story short, I think repurposing content is what I'm hearing you say, rather than creating all this new content all the time, which is where the overwhelm comes for me. Like, what am I talking about this week? Can you talk a little bit about kind of that repurposing of content of
Yeah.
social?
Exactly. So just to again recap, people, when it comes to social media, the idea is you post on social media to get people to know, like, and trust you. So again, video is reigning supreme because people form an immediate connection way better than a text post. So I know a lot of practitioners don't want to be on camera and there's logistics involved, the hair, the makeup, all the stuff.
That's
And
what
I don't like
filters
it.
are
I don't
for.
like it
The
either.
filter.
So, it has to be simple, as you say, to do it. Batch produce this. And I personally find whenever I have an FAQ topic, I kind of know what I want to say. And again, as a practitioner, you know your stuff cold. If you just had the FAQ post in front of you, you don't even have to memorize anything. You just ad lib and you go. And so that's usually the best content where people see you in their element and they form a connection. And again, ultimately, there's two things to stand out from the noise. I said at the beginning of the presentation, AI has hurt a lot of health and wellness practitioners in a sense that so many people are now creating content, not just health and wellness influencers. There's so much content out there that consumers are overwhelmed. They're tuning out. They've heard the same Mark Hyman style post 50 million times. They're not paying attention anymore. So what needs to happen really is that whatever you say has to be true insights. It has to come from you. In an
Mm,
age where ChatGPT can pump out 50 million posts, it's the stuff that's rare. You going on camera that will really make a difference.
mm,
It's the return to real. People want to know you're real. They want to see how you think, what's in all. So if you don't deliver the perfect video, we've actually done split tests where we took a perfectly video edited video with B-roll and all this stuff, fancy editing, and compared it to a raw video just talking to a camera. And the video just talking to the camera was 7 times cheaper than the highly produced one. So I'm telling you, simple is best. Put the camera on a tripod, have the topic for your FAQ, and then just riff for 2 to 3 minutes on that topic. Don't go on forever. YouTube Shorts allows up to 3 minutes. TikTok doesn't have a limit. Facebook, Instagram doesn't have a limit. So 3 minute is sort of the mark that allows you to put it on all the platforms. And so start with video. That is the part. So it's frequency and saying the right thing. So if you just talk about stuff that is of no interest to anyone, it doesn't matter that you did social media, that you did video. It will just go in here, out there. People don't connect. So you have to actually share insights, wisdom, stuff that only you could know. As a practitioner, based on your experience, your expertise, your training, your track record, your credentials, you have invested so much into the clinical side that what people need to see is, well, how does this make it out into the open? They don't know that you're the most gifted clinician in your town unless they see social media content out there. So you can't have one or the other. You can't stay the best kept secret. You need to be the best known practitioner. And so, what I would say is it's these two things: saying the right thing to the right person, knowing who am I talking to? Am I talking to perimenopausal women or do I
mm.
talk to biohacking athletes? Who is it? Is it retired athletes versus young athletes? And then speak to one person, speak what they need to hear it, and those people will realize, oh, this person is resonating with you. And again, you mentioned Kelly Kasperson, the lady with the crazy hair.
Mhm.
She talks
Yeah.
about female testosterone and sexual
Yep.
health. And
Mhm.
along with all the other menopause influencers, she has blown up primarily on her video reels. She puts out
Yeah.
so many video reels. Doesn't mean she produces everyday video reels, but she created them once. And then every day there's like 3, 5, 10 video reels that are on the various platforms. And this repetition ultimately shapes perception. So, she's trying to dominate this on an international stage. In your case, as a health practitioner, we're just trying to dominate a 10, 20-mile radius around your clinic. So, what can we do to create 15 FAQ reels, 15 FAQ posts? We have 30 posts. We post one day a reel, one day a post, one day a reel, one day a post. You schedule it for the entire month and maybe put some ad money behind it to now make sure that in a 10, 20-mile radius around your clinic, you are the Mark Hyman, you are the Kelly Kasperson, you are the influencer, the expert that speaks on fill in the blank, the topic of your expertise. And again, you got to stick to your script, to your brand, to your niche. You can't talk one day about perimenopause and the other day you talk about something totally unrelated. You want to give people the mental idea you are the expert for these type of people with this persistent, painful problem.
Yeah. So how long can I keep you here? Because I have like 7 questions. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question on social media, because it seems like once something trends and starts working, the algorithm switches to make it not work. That's just my personal opinion. Let me give you an example. So, remixing of videos. So, you could take someone's content, remix the reel, put your own thoughts, maybe put a caption over it, and it could scale. Now they hinder that. They also seem to be hindering any tagged posts. So, if you post on one channel, you tag someone on something else so that it goes on their channel. Now it goes into a separate section in Facebook. It's not even on your primary feed. So how do
Yeah.
you keep up with like all these social media changes where something's trending and it's working and you're scaling and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, no.
So my experience, and this is from working with integrative and functional and longevity and regenerative medicine practitioners since 2014, you can't pay me enough to try to win on organic social media. Yes, I'm not saying don't post on organic social media. You need some level just to satisfy the AI chatbots and the
Right.
Googles of the world. But the reality is you're not really generating a lot of patients from that. So what I would say is create a set of good content. Again, maybe it's 30 posts and that's it. And every 30 days we rotate through the same content. Doesn't matter. You sort of check the box on the organic social media side and then just dedicate some money for paid ads. And the reason why I say this, if you were spending time, either your time or a VA or an office manager's time to dominate on organic, you're posting 3, 5 times, you're creating all this content. Let's say that's 20 hours a month. 20 hours times $200, that's $4,000 that you put out there. And I bet you're not getting any return on that money. How about we take $2,000 and just promote the videos that you created, the FAQ videos, and push it to local audiences? And so we have examples from clients where it takes 8 cents to get somebody to watch a 1 minute video. I'm doing this all day long. I'm paying for every dollar that I spent on video view ads. $1 divided by 8 people, it's what, 15 cents, 15 people. So $1 equals 15 people watching 1 minute. Now, if I pay $5 a day, that's 60 people a day, 2,000 people a month. That's how I dominate the local audience. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to win on organic and changing all these trends and this trending hack and that one. It's like, I just pay Facebook and Instagram $1,000 a month to make sure that I am the legit influencer in a 20-mile radius. And I say women 45 to 52 interested in perimenopause. That's it. And I'm just going to dominate that part that these women will see nothing but me. And I don't even have to lift a finger. I don't have to post anything. It's just running. And so that is really the strategy in 2026 to get out of this social media hamster wheel, constantly creating new content. Again, everyone thinks you have to constantly create new content. I'm like, no, you just create one set of good content and then that's all you post for the rest of the year. Create it once, make it good, and then just repost. And again, you can start organically, see how that goes. A lot of clients tell me, hey, let me first make sure organic social media works, and then I consider paid ads. I'm like, which will be never. So again, so you have to get over this part. Growing a practice requires being a good practitioner clinically, but then also letting people know that you exist. Who do you help solve what painful, persistent problem? And so this goes into niching, positioning, strategy work, saying, who do I reach out to? Again, I can give an example. About 3 months ago, I looked at all our clients and said, there's people that just are in startup mode and they ask a lot of questions and it takes a lot to get them ready. And then we have a pool here of overwhelmed practitioner that have been in business for 10 years that need an integrator. And I realized the money we're making from this first group was next to nothing, but all the work was there. And we made a lot more money helping established practitioners. So I said, in our marketing, we're only talking to overwhelmed operator now, and we're not talking to startup Susans anymore. So you might find yourself in a similar position. You have this perimenopausal women pool that's easy to work with. They have adrenal, thyroid, insulin resistance. You know what it is. You could do this in your sleep as opposed to the autoimmune patients or the complex mold cases, right? So when you think about your marketing, Are you making it needlessly harder on yourself trying to help everyone? And then you have to have content for mold, and you have to have content for autoimmunity, content for hormones, versus saying, you know what? If the random autoimmune patient walks in, fine, I help them, but my marketing is focused only on perimenopausal women with hormonal and cardiometabolic problems. And this is going to be so much easier. Less content to produce, less different angle. It's more straightforward in your head, less offers, simpler for your front desk. So again, it's all about simplification and figuring out who do I really want to help?
Mm. So last question is in the chat. It says, what is special for telemedicine? I'm not quite clear what that means. I've asked her to expand on it, but maybe you know what that means.
Telemedicine, in the context of AI optimization, I don't think it's necessarily a difference maker. Again, ChatGPT just figures out what topics are you talking about it. Can I feature this as an answer? Um, Again, it's a little bit harder to rank when somebody says BHRT specialist in Florida. There's obviously going to be 5 million people coming up. And, it's harder to rank number one. So even as a telemedicine practice, I would still put some location to it, but then still say we're serving patients throughout the greater Orlando area or throughout Florida, Texas, and, California. Put this in there, but have at least a local service area. And it's a funny thing. There's people that live in, let's say, Western Pennsylvania, and they could technically work with somebody in the Philadelphia area, but are they actually going to trust that a practitioner that's 300 miles away from them is the right fit versus somebody local? So consumers are always looking local, even if you do telemedicine. It always behooves you to have a local bent to it to capture that local demand, that local trust, etc.
Yeah, I'm always surprised of how many local people come see me virtually, even though I'm local.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're like, can I come to your office? Nope.
yeah.
I'll see you on Zoom. Well, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much. I think we've covered the majority of the questions. If you guys have any more questions, you can reach out directly to Uli, or you can reach out to marketing at gethealthy.store and we'll pass those along. Make sure you do that free assessment. Find out what the crawlers really want to be crawling for across your website. Get all your business pages updated and keep it simple on social. That's kind of what I'm hearing. So I'm done
Yep.
talking content. That's it. I'm done. I'm just going to rehash what I have. I'm over it. So thank you, Uli, for all your great insight and for everything you do for our industry. We certainly appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity. And I always say, the world needs more heart-centered healers like you. So make sure you get out there, make sure that patients can find you, because ultimately, we want to make sure that you don't say that best kept secret and become the best known practitioner in your zip code. So if we can help you do this, reach out, happy to help, even if it's just with a strategic assessment and some free advice. But ultimately, your patients deserve to know how amazing you are.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in and spending some time with us today. There will be a replay. And don't forget to tune in next week on our peptide course. You can find that on our website. Thanks, Uli, again, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.